Subpart Z, track geometry, 213.51 scope. The subpart scope, the requirements for the gauge alignment, structure with the track, and evaluation of the outer rail speed limitation for the curved track. 213.53 gauge. Gauge is measured between the head of the rail at the right angles to the place of a 5/8 of an inch to place. Right angles of in a plane of 5/8 of an inch below the top of the railhead. The gauge shall be within the limits of described in the following tables. Except to track 1, not applicable, the gauge must be at least 4 foot 10 and a quarter inches. Class 1, 4 foot 8 inches for the 4 foot and 8 inch gauge, at least 4 foot 10 inches, but no more than. Class 2 and 3 track 4 foot 8 inches gauge must be at least 4 foot 9 3/4 inch, no more than. Class 4 track 4 foot 8 inch gauge at least, and 4 foot 9.5, no more than. 213.55 track alignment. Except for the provided in paragraph of the B of the section, alignment may not be deviate from the uniformity of the may be amount of prescribed the following table. Class 1 track, tangent track with deviation with a mid to offset of 62-foot line may not be more than 5 inches. Or 31-foot chord not applicable on 62-foot chord, more deviation mid-orient 5. Class 2 track 3, 62-foot offset, mid-offset, not applicable, 31-foot chord, mid-orient, 33 foot, 3 inches, mid-orient, 62-foot chord, no more than. Class 3, 1 3/4 mid-offset, 62-foot line, 1 1/4 inch, 31-foot mid-orient, and 1 3/4 60-foot mid-orient. Class 4, 1.5 inch 62-foot mid-offset, 1 inch 31-foot chord, mid-orient, 1 1/2 inch 62-foot mid-orient. Class 5 truck, 3 3/4 inch 62-foot medium offset deviation mid-orient 31-foot, not more than 1/2. Deviation mid-orient 62-foot chord, no more than 5/8 of an inch. Alright, for operations qualified candidate deficiency EU, they more than 5 inches alignment outside of the rail curve may not deviate uniformly more than the amount prescribed in the following table. Class 1 track, deviation mid-orient 31 foot, no more than, not applicable, 62-foot mid-orient 1 1/4. Class 2 track, not applicable for the 31-foot chord, 1 1/4 inch for the 60 deviation mid-chord and 62-foot chord. Class 3, 3/4 inch 31-foot chord, mid-orient, 1 deviation mid-orient 62-foot chord, 1 1/4 inch. Class 4, 3 1/4 inch deviation mid-orient 31-foot chord, and 7/8 of an inch deviation mid-orient 62-foot chord. Class 5, 1/2 inch 31-foot chord, deviation mid-orient, 5/8 of an inch deviation mid-orient 62-foot chord. Alright, 213.57 curves and elevation speed. The maximum elevation outside of the rail may not be more than 8 inches on track classes 1 and 2, with 7 inches for the class 3 through 5 outside rail of the curve may not be lower than the outside of the rail design, except with an engineer to draft for the effect specific track operation conditions limited within 213.63, applying in all cases the maximum allowable speed. Timetables of operation speed for each for the curve is determined by the following. Vmax, maximum allowable posted time operation speed in miles per hour, equal to the square root of E, the actual elevation outside of the rail in inches, plus the equal qualified cant deficiency in inches of the vehicle type, divided by 7 ten-thousandths of D. And D is the degree of curvature. All vehicles considering qualified operating with the track with a cant deficiency qualified cant deficiency with a vehicle type 19 3 inches type 1 appendix A for the part of the table speed for the computer with the corners for the formula paragraph B for the section and EU the can equal the 3 inches various element for the degree of the curvature. Each vehicle type of the for the FRA to appropriately track of the qualified cant deficiency greater than 3 inches. Each vehicle the type must be demonstrated ready for vehicles load condition with the compliant with the requirements of either paragraph D1 or 2 of this section. When posted on the track with a uniform super elevation equal to the posted cant deficiency, no wheel on the vehicle type is unloaded with the values less than 60% of the tag value with a perfect level of the track of the passenger car with the roll angle between the floor and the equipment with the horizontal does not exceed 8.6 degrees, or when they operating through the continuous radius curve of the constant speed corresponding with the proposed cant deficiency of the test plan is submitted with approved FRA accordance with 213.435 E and F. The steady state of average load on the anti-wheel throughout the body with the stirrup is not less than 60% of the tag value with a perfect level of the track for the passenger with the car with the steady that says state average lateral acceleration must be on the floor of the car body does not exceed 15 hundredths of a G. The track owner and the railroad shall transmit the result of the testing specified in D with the Section 50 FRA Associate Administrator of the Railroad Safety Chief Officer requesting approval for the vehicle type of the operating with a curving speed allowed under this formula. In paragraph B of the section, the request should be made with the written with the contained with the minimum of the following information: descriptive of the vehicle type involved, including the schematic diagram of the suspension system, the estimated location from the center of the gravity of the top above the top of the rail. Test procedure, including the location, condition under which the testing was performed, described in the instrument with the use of the qualified vehicle type, as well as the maximum value of the wheels unloading and the rolling of the angle with the acceleration that they were served during the testing. 3. That for the vehicle type not subject to Part 229 and 238 of the chapter procedure section, standards effect for the relate with the maintenance for all safety critical components of the suspension system of the particular vehicle with the type of the safety critical components of the suspension system are those with that impact with a significant influence over the role of the car body distribution over the weight on the wheels. In improving the request made by the pursuant in paragraph E of the section, the FRA may impose the conditions necessary for the safely operate with a high curving speed upon the FRA approval of the request for the track owner and railroad shall notify the FRA in writing no less than 30 calendar days prior to the proposed implementation with the approved higher of the curving speed allowed under the following paragraph B of the section. The notification shall contain the minimum identification of the track segment of the under which the higher curving speed with the implementing the documents are recovered by this section must be provided with the FRA by the track owner of the railroad that provided for the service over the same vehicle type over the track of one or more track owners with written consent of the affected track owner. A vehicle types prescribed in the FRA to operate with a cant deficiencies greater than 3 inches but not more than 5 inches should be considered qualified under the section. Operate with those permitted with a cant deficiency within any track segment. The track owner of the railroad shall notify the FRA writing no less than 30 calendar days prior to the proposed implementation of such curve speeding in accordance with the paragraph F of this section. 2. The type of the vehicle permitted with the FRA operate with a cant deficiencies greater than 5 inches shall be considered with qualified under the section. Operating lease period with a cant deficiencies only the previously operated with identified track segments. For the vehicle with its intent for the operating with any curved speed for the producing 5 can be inches for the cant deficiency following the provision of subpart G of this part apply to 213.33A and G and J 1 K and M of the 213.45 and 213.3069F. As used in the section vehicle means of the locomotive is defined in statute 229.5 of the chapter of the freight of the car is defined in 215.5 of the chapter of the passenger car defined in 230.85 of the chapter of any of the rolling equipment and components used in the train. And either of the freight car or the passenger car vehicle type means like with the vehicle's variation from the physical property of such a name as the mass, interior arrangement, and dimension that do not result in a significant change of the dynamic characteristics. 213.59 elevation of the curved track runoff. The curve is elevated with the full elevation provided throughout the curve unless the physical condition do not permit the elevation runoff of the curve of the occurs at the curve of the actual minimum of the elevation should be used with the computing the maximum allowable the posted time operating speed with the curve of the statute 213.57. Elevation run shall be uniform rate with the limits for the track of the surface deviation with the prescribed in 213.63 and it shall be extended at least full length of the spiral if the physical condition of the design permit but the spiral along with the accommodated with the minimum length of the runoff of the part of the runoff may be on the tangent track. Alright, 213.63 track surface testing provided in paragraph 1 of the section. Each of the track owners shall maintain the surface of the track within the limits of the prescribed in the following table. Our classes 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 will be read in that order. Runoff of 31 feet of the rail and at the end of the raise may not be more than 3.5, 3, and 3, 2, 1.5, and 1. Deviation under the uniform of either rail mid-orient 62 foot may not be more than 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 1, 3, 2, 3 and 3/4, 3, 3 and 2 1/2, 2 1/4, 4, 2, 1 and 5, 1 and 3, 1 1/4. Deviation with a zero level at any point of the tangent reverse cross level elevation curve that may not be more than 3, 2, 1, 3/4, 1 and 1/4, and 1. Difference of the cost level between the 2 points of the 62 foot may not be more than 3, 2 and a quarter, 2, 1 and 3/4, 1 and a half. When determining the engineer decision prior to the June 22nd, 1988, the physical restrictions and spiral length of operating practices exercising the variation cross level of the spirals at 31 feet may not be more than 2, 1 and 3/4, 1 and 1/4, 1 and 3/4. For operations qualified cant deficiency with more than 5 inches each, the owner shall maintain the surface of the curve within the limits prescribed in the following table. Alright, the deviation for the unit of the classes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, read in that order. From track surface deviation uniform, either rail with a mid-order in 31 feet, but it may not be more than, not applicable, 1 and 1 and 1. The deviation uniform, either at the rail of the mid-order in 62-foot chord, but not more than 2 and a quarter, 2 and a quarter, 1 and 3/4, 1 and 1/4, 1. Difference in the crossover between the 2 points with at least 10 foot apart with a short wrap shall not be more than 2, 2, 1 and 3/4, 1 and 3/4, 1 and a half. 21365 combined track element surface deviation on a curved track with the operation of the qualified and cant deficiency greater than 5 inches. A combination alignment in source deviation, same chord length with the outside rail covered and measured in the track geometry measurement system shall be complied with the following formula: 3/4 times the absolute value of the measured alignment deviation uniform outside of the positive inwards is negative over allowable alignment limit as per 21355B with all these positive for the class on the track plus 7M measurement profile deviation uniformity down in the positive up in the negative and over SL allowable profile limit is part of 21363B always positive for the class track greater than or equal to 1. Also, you have the absolute positive value of this result, and AM equals over AL plus SM over SL. Subpart D, track structure.